Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the CEO's Advantage. Great to have you back. As you know, on this platform, we talk about disruptive strategies for business. I have exciting guests on to kind of give you guys pointers, direction, and strategies as to how to make your business better, how to achieve longevity, and how you can address the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. And today I have as my guest, I'm excited to have Scott Cundill out of Australia. Thank you for being here, Scott. Scott is the CEO of the networking platform My Most Trusted. And I want to ask Scott to, if I'm missing anything else about you, please tell my audience, how did you get into networking? Why MMT? What made you launch that platform? And why should business owners, people who are thinking about getting into business, people who are into networking, why should they be checking your platform out?
Thank you, Salami. You're a rock star. Really appreciate it. Yeah, well, I started getting into network this day I started my business. And the reason for that is you can't avoid it. Everybody does networking. If you've got a business and you're not networking, then you have a very, very big problem. Because whether you do a tiny bit of networking or a lot of networking, you have to have some form of networking. You've got to be communicating with people. I know there's a handful of businesses out there where you can do things purely online, like you might have your own business to do as a day trader for stocks and currencies or cryptocurrency. And in those situations, you don't really need to network. But in just about every business in the world, you have to network. So I've been networking for 30 years now. I've had my business. I've only ever had my own business. I've had very, very, very few full-time jobs and none before the age of about 23. So I've always had my own business. Yeah. So networking is critical. And the reason for that is very simple. Here's one line for you. The people around you that you know and trust won't let you starve. The people they know will make you rich. Now, the only way you can get to the people they know is if you look after the people you already know really well, so they'll open the door for you into their networks. That's what networking is about. And if you can truly understand that, then you'll get it.
That if we had unlimited time, I would say repeat that again and put it on repeat, 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 because that, in a nutshell, is the core of what networking is about. The know, like, and trust. I don't care what people are doing nowadays, where they're doing all this fancy stuff, and that does not change. I don't care um, how great you are. If someone, even if they know you and they don't like you, they're not going to do business with you. So, uh, thank you for that observation. Uh, so, Scott, what do you see as the future of networking? Where do you see networking in the next 5 to 10 years, say?
So we've got to change. We've got to be specific about the definition of networking, or be more specific, because networking as a whole is a very broad concept, and it's not as a broad concept. It's not going to change at all in the next however many years. It's still one human being meeting another human being, having a conversation, getting to know each other, and finding synergies in the business realm. That's not going to change as a foundation. What is going to change is some of the applications and opportunities for doing networking differently. Some people will accept those opportunities and some people won't. If you're a member of BNI, for example, you're doing business networking about 97, 98% the same way as they did 50 years ago. It really hasn't changed much. And they pride themselves on that, Salami. That's what they want. They don't want to change anything. They don't want it. It's worked. Why take a system that's working and change it? So with the exception of a little bit of technology that they've brought in to try and make things a bit easier, the concept is the same. Now, That said, there's some extraordinarily futuristic stuff that is on the cards. Now, we had a glimpse of that through COVID when everybody started using. See, once again, I made the mistake and say everybody. It's not everybody. Many people, most people used Zoom during COVID because they couldn't network any other way. Okay. And they used virtual platforms. So, what happened with these virtual platforms, video platforms, is they added a new dimension to networking, but still the concept stays the same. And there's good and there's bad. The good news is with virtual networking, you can now meet 10, 15 people a day if you really want to. Whereas in person networking, you would, and I'm sorry, doing one on ones. With in person, you could only do maybe 3 or 4 one on ones a day because you had to
Mhm.
drive and travel and get on the train and whatever. This is changing. Now, the future of networking for these pockets is going to get even more sophisticated. And again, it's up to the individual person to decide what they want. I can tell you, for example, that there are very well funded systems out there where AI is going to take over all the networking for you. So in 3 to 5 years, for example, you'll be able to not even have to attend a networking group. Your clone will attend a networking group. Your clone will network with other clones. They'll all decide, and then your clone will get back to you and say, "Well, I met these two good people. I think you should potentially meet them in person." And when I say clone, I'm not referring to a physical body clone like the replicants of that. What's that crazy movie? That great movie from the 90s, I think it was. Um, uh,
You're
I'm talking
talking
about,
avatars,
yes,
basically.
avatars. Yes, physical avatars. Um, and the thing is, you can have a digital clone, a digital twin. So I can have a digital twin that's not actually me attending a networking event. Sounds like me, talks like me, has been trained on me, knows my business better than I do in many ways, and goes and talks to other people. That's coming imminently. How do we deal with that? That's going to be very interesting.
Uh, it's um, it's great that you bring that up, and I'm happy you referenced the BNI experience. I saw your post
Yeah.
to your BNI brothers and sisters about how do you feel about a clone sitting beside you in a BNI meeting, and I wanted to find out from you. I was following the thread. What was the response? First of all, what's your opinion? How do you feel about that? And what response have you been getting from the BNI collective?
So it's an interesting one. So in my opinion, I'm human first. So we'll talk about my most trusted in a minute, but with my most trusted, we don't want clones at all. We want the real humans connecting. So there will be clones will be banned from our universe. They'll try to sneak their way in, but we won't. They just we'll delete them if they're not there or if they're not honest about who they are. They will be removed from our network because we don't want clones at all. That means we people can still have digital clones, but they just mustn't come into our net. We're a human to human network where real people meet real humans and talk about real human things. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we're not against AI. We use AI within my most trusted, and that's the future of networking is going to be quicker and easier matches. Now, that we do straight away. My most trusted does it, and you're going to find more and more of that. In other words, if I go to a networking group and there's 20 people or 100 people, or if it's a huge expo hall with 1,000 people in that hall, I'll be guided to the right people for me to meet through AI and intelligence. That's quite cool. That's quite useful because it helps me get to the person I want quicker. We're going to see AI help with that, but it's still not going to replace the individual. It's not going to the individual human connection.
So it's a matter of enhancing rather than transforming. And I wrote a post or a newsletter for LinkedIn addressing this very issue about human versus clone or avatar. And what are we prepared to give up in terms of our humanity to the idea of being an AI clone or a hybrid being? Because for according to the experts, and I've read up on a lot of neuroscientists, they say we're not even using we're using a scintilla of what the capacity of our brain is, and the um, that thing that makes us human is our ability to innovate and create. Not that AI can't do that, but there is something about the human psyche, the human brain, that gives us that makes us gives us the ability to do what a clone or an AI generated avatar or a hybrid human being is able to do. So the choice is, Scott, are we going to replace or enhance? And from your perspective, you're saying, you know, I'm about enhancing, using AI, the AI, what AI has to offer to enhance what I'm offering rather than bringing in strictly uh, quote unquote fake humans into the mix. How do you see if that's going to be our reality? How is it going to affect business in your view?
We're going
And
to
how,
have a choice.
go
Some
ahead.
will, some will accept it 100% and they'll just go full on into it and
Mm,
digitize themselves completely. Others will reject it. So what
mm,
we're going to see, Salami, is a very, very distinct, and we're already seeing it now, a polarization of those who are going to go more into it and those who aren't. And it's just going to be the way it is.
mm,
So it's not going to be about where we go. I think we as a and people should generally, because we're global now. We as a people, as a humanity, are not we. There's no unification in this we, as you probably noticed from our political. There's just we're so divided in so many ways.
mhm,
Yes, we are still one human race, consciousness, etc. That said, though, we are very polarized. We are polarized in terms of our thinking. So the same is going to be happening with networking. Some people are going to embrace the new stuff and they're going to jump headline. And I've seen a few people starting to do that already. They want to clone themselves and do whatever they want to do as quickly as possible. I'm not going to. It's just not my part of it. Will I have a clone at some point? Maybe, depending on how that will go. But I've chosen to be in that realm, the human space, making real human connections with real people. So there's no we anymore. It's now going to be pockets of different people are going to make decisions to go certain ways. And that's scary and sad in a way, because there is going to be a group of people that aren't going to deal with the other people. They don't want to have anything to
exactly,
do with it.
exactly.
And
Um,
that's so sad.
that's sad. It's the and since COVID, we've had this conversation about virtual versus in person. And as someone who has done both, I find that both has merit. But as you say, the way the universe is progressing, uh, my fear is that uh, I'm trying to put this diplomatically. My fear is that there's not enough, I don't want to say analysis, but not enough deep thought has been put into the results, the effect, the consequences of what living in this kind of networking world is going to look like.
That's
Uh,
very true. Yeah.
because when you think about it, a human can make adjustments, react in a way such that maybe a clone won't. I'm not, we haven't seen this in reality to a large extent yet. But what are your thoughts on what a human can do in terms of a networking environment as opposed to a clone, say?
Okay, well, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, you are absolutely right. We don't talk to each other as networking groups, networking people, right? There's no industry of a global industry or countrywide industry for networkers, networking groups, networking clubs. So we don't do anything that's good for the industry as a whole because we don't unite. Every other industry does. There's a bakery. industry, association of bakers, there's association of fisheries, there's association of accountants, there's association of lawyers, there's association of dentists, there's associations of everything, but there's no association of networking groups. So how do we decide the future of what's going to happen in networking, and how do we protect ourselves? Because very, very well-funded startups are coming to replace networking. They're not going to completely replace it, but they're going to take a big chunk of networking, and they're going to they're going to try to take a big chunk of networking, which is completely AI driven and no humans involved at all. And if I could say to you, Salome, for a couple of dollars a month, your digital clone can go and network with other digital clones, and they'll just spit back meetings for you. You're going to be cool. What a great idea. I've got almost nothing to lose. I'll just give my clone in and let's see who wants my services. And then it's just going to become a cluster. You know what? It's just going to be a disaster. But there are these startups out there with literally millions of dollars trying to replace the humans within the networking groups with AI clones and artificial intelligence so that they don't need networking groups and things anymore. The way that humans interact in business, these very well-funded organizations are trying to change that. They're coming for our humanness within the networking group. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to stand together and we have to make decisions amongst ourselves as an industry. But every networking group is so desperate. You've got two kinds of networking groups. One kind of networking group is just desperately trying to get enough members to stay alive. So they don't really think about any other groups or what's going on. The other networking groups are expanding quickly, and they just want to expand and expand and expand and just make more money and just get bigger and bigger. They're not, no, I have not met one single group yet that's actually thinking, what should we do about networking as a whole, as a global concept? I can tell you right now that if you go to AI and you type anything to do with medical at all, tell me about Tylenol. What does Tylenol do? What can it be used for? Every single response it gives, it says at the bottom, please note, I'm not a doctor, and you should always seek medical treatment if you a doctor's assistance, right? If you do ask for any legal or financial, it says, I'm not a lawyer. You need to please don't take legal advice. If they are financial, you need to speak to a financial advisor. These industries are so powerful worldwide that even AI has to say, well, divert the industry.
Mm-hmm.
They've already put the mechanisms in place to protect themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is something that we don't have as networking groups. That we are ripe for plucking. And just wait till the scams get started. The scams that are going to be coming through these things are just going to be next level, next level.
What do you think groups such as yourselves, you're obviously more enlightened as far as the deeper um, deeper consequences of what could happen. Um, is there something that networking groups can do, or creators, platforms such as yourselves do to shift that thought process?
Oh, good question. Yes, yes, yes. In fact, that we are massively important. I say we're obviously a platform. We're not a networking group ourselves. We work with networking groups. Those networking groups are so important because they are safe spaces where individuals can come to get away from all this AI content rubbish that's just mass produced and shoved on the internet for no other purpose than to get the odd click and maybe make 0.02 cents per click. It's just this rubbish that gets plastered all over the internet at the moment. So, and the social media companies are loving it. They want this.
Of
They want it
course.
all like this. That's what their whole business model is about. So, where are people going to go in business to find human, authentic, real people? They have to go to business networking groups and business clubs. So absolutely, business networking groups are a very important role in business, and I think it's going to be more and more important in the future. So what can businesses do? Business networking groups do. First of all, keep going, keep being authentic. Don't fall for the rhetoric that's going to come your way. Yeah, the harpies are going to sing, and you're going to get attracted to them, and you're going to drown. because they don't care. They don't, Michael Jackson, they don't care about us. I promise you, those AI systems don't care. They just want, they've got an objective. They're going to pull people in. Now, I'm not against AI. Like, please, AI, I use AI, I talk to my little Gemini, ask questions. It's got amazing applications, right? And we use AI to match people together in our networking groups. But we always do it by putting the networking group and business club first. They are first. Their brand is number one. So we try to support them and do what we can to support them and then connect them together. We're not a single organization that's trying to, for example, compete with LinkedIn or social media. So that's the first thing. What other thing networks can do is you've got to interact with other networking groups and not be in it just for yourself. And I know it's difficult because you just want to survive. And some of the bigger networking groups just want to grow, 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 and create a multi-million-dollar organization that they can probably sell off or something like that. But we have to change that attitude. We
Yeah.
have to stop being in it for ourselves. We have to see ourselves as a global networking industry.
And therein
He
lies
and
the
I.
therein lies a challenge because I remember when the advent of AI. I mean, AI has been around for years. We just recently started talking about it. It's just come to the forefront. But we've had AI. I mean, when we were using our phones to find directions, that's been
Yeah.
around for years. That's AI, but now that it's come to the fore, what I most business thought leaders, everybody you see, whether they have a podcast or a YouTube channel, wherever they're making content, that central theme has always been it's really about the user. Because as you say, AI is a powerful tool. It's amazing. But the key is it being used for the best interest of the end user? And this is where you're going, where you say most of these groups, it's all about how many members can I have? How much money can I make? What can I do to attract the most?
Or survival. It could also be about
Exactly.
survival. Yeah.
So they're going to jump on the bandwagon. If I can create a group of just avatars, why not do that?
Yeah.
Business owners never have to be concerned about, you know, investing time in networking. But the key is when your avatar goes to that meeting, how can they respond to what avatars are saying? What they your contribution to that group and the contribution of the other avatars, how are you interacting? Can you say, someone in one avatar says, oh, can we meet? Let's talk about how we can
Yes.
collaborate, blah, blah, blah. Does your avatar has the capability to say, this is a good fit for me. We have synergy, blah, blah, blah. To me, there's just some things that's just inherently human. But, I would say, even though to me this is sad and scary, we just have to wait and see how this AI avatar kind of environment will play out. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be prepared, right?
Exactly. We do need to be prepared because what happens, Salami? What the issue is actually you're right. The human the AI stuff and the clones can't replace the humanness and the discussions that we have. What should we chat about? Is there a synergy? It'll do a very, very good job of seeing if there's business synergy and things like that. It'll actually be very, very good at going. An AI clone will actually be a very good networker, right? In many ways. Here's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about going into a Zoom room, right? And I don't know how many of those 20 people whose faces and people chatting, and I don't know how many of them are real people and how many are clones. That is the
Exactly.
problem. Now, I don't want to deal with the clone. And then some people will argue, well, who cares? What difference does it make if I send my
Yeah,
clone?
but
Why
but
should you
but
need to know if
but
it's not me? You're not going to know.
you might be at a disadvantage with if there are clones in the room, especially if you don't know. And how much does that clone know about you and your business? Not just you as a business person, but you personally, your
Yeah.
personal life. How much of your information does
Yeah.
that clone possess? See, I don't think in the space of networking that the people who are creating these are thinking about that, because it's not just about your business, because it's really about the complete person. And when
No, they are.
yeah, when a
Sorry,
being,
Salome, I don't mean to interrupt, but they are thinking about that personal.
okay, so if they know all of
Yeah.
that about
Yeah.
you, then you as the human in the room are definitely at a disadvantage, in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
opinion.
And that's freaky, isn't it?
It's freaky and it's scary, because
Yeah.
if I'm in a Zoom room and I don't know that someone is a clone, let's say, I'm trying to communicate with everyone else in the room. And you go into a breakout room, and this person's asking you questions about uh, your private life, or where you've been, or do we
Yep.
know that they're just going to be focused on business? And is this clone going to be putting you at a disadvantage, such that you don't have a choice but to uh, interact with
Yep.
with that clone and that business?
That's right. That clone is going to be trained to do one thing, get your
Get
attention
your
and get
attention.
as many
Exactly.
people attention. It means it's going to say something that might get your attention. It might even know who you are already. It can read. I mean, phase two of these clones. This will take a bit longer. It's going to know everything about you.
It's
So it's
definitely going to know everything about you. And then that's the part I don't like. Because to me, networking is about learning, meeting and learning about the other person.
you're
Uh,
right. Wrong
but
word.
my
Wrong
goal in
choice of word.
networking is, um, how can I be, how can I be of service to you? And how can we be of service to each other? When I'm in a room with a clone who already knows everything about me, what is there for us to talk about?
It's a really good point, and in fact, you know what might even end up happening. It's very possible that networking on video calls might actually crash because people just don't want to be on video calls anymore. I'm already getting annoyed with all the Fathom and the AI note takers that keep coming and
I
irritating me.
know, yes.
It's
It's
extremely irritating when
very
it's okay with one of
and
them.
it's distracting.
Wait until they actually clones start coming in, and then you don't know if it's them. This is where people might just start. You know what? I actually don't do these calls anymore. I'm done. I'm not doing them. I actually want to go to in-person physical networking events and groups. So this might actually be something that happens in the future, unless there's a way of doing some kind of human authenticity. And I think what will happen is the big corporations like the Zooms of the world, the Microsoft Teams, they will have a very advanced. This is not a robot, and not let them
Yeah.
in and make sure
Mhm.
it's disclosed up front so we can not allow them, which is good. That will absolutely definitely happen. So I don't see networking crashing. I'm just saying as it is, it will crash unless something is done, but something will be done. But Salami, these going back to what we discussed, these if you're in a breakout room and you're doing a networking, right, and one of those individuals is a clone, that clone is strategically programmed on NLP and all kinds of things. It even knows about you. You're right, not everything about you, but it knows the other three people in the room potentially, and it knows what to say, what they want to hear, their personality types. So it knows how to get them in there, ask some information, and then decide if it's worth setting up a meeting with the real human. They then set
Mhm.
up a meeting with the real human, and you will never even know that the real human is now taken over. Oh, great. How was it in the networking group? They won't tell you that it's a clone that was in the networking group. This is real. This is like stuff that could theoretically be possible.
Mhm.
So we've got to think about these things because, yeah, it's it's
Do you think, Scott, that as you were speaking, the light bulb kind of went on, that the antidote to all this stuff that's coming. As you said, maybe just in-person meeting. And I've noticed that a lot of other hybrid, uh, quote unquote, social networking sites are popping up all over the country. I've had a couple of them reach out to me where, they're focused on, they're high investment, but they're focused on in person.
Mm.
Uh, do you think that that is the antidote for what's coming? More human, more person to person interaction. Is this an area that
Yeah, I do. I think it's going
AI
to, I think
can infiltrate?
That's right. I think those in-person events are going to be very important going forward. Very important. That said, unfortunately, with all this new things, AI, and we know what technology does, it promises us to save us time, but it never does. It always ends up creating more problems, more time, and we don't actually, we just, always, for some reason, all this technology, and we're busier than we've ever been before. So it's actually we're going to be so busy. How many of us are actually going to be able to get to that networking group, you know, and
Yeah.
get to those events? And not only that, but how many people are going to want to? There's a massive amount of the Gen Z, and what's the after Gen Z now, the
Gen
younger,
X.
the Gen X generation, that there's a significant proportion of them that do not want to communicate with humans and have any human interaction at all outside their own families.
And
That
I think, Scott, that this brings us to the last point I want to raise, and that's about education. How educated are these Gen Xers or people who are in business in general? How much do they really know about what it means to be a hybrid human? Um, I heard something crazy the other day about um, mothers who give births are going to be required to have chips put in their kids' brains to create, and it sounds far-fetched, but not really.
it's not. Yeah,
Um,
not.
so it's about education and as I mentioned before, how much are you willing to give up? Uh, how much are you willing to sacrifice? What consequences? You do not know what the consequences and the effects that implanting these things in your brain and your body will produce. Yes, it may give you that initial rush and, hey, it's great. I can do these things. I can, it allows me to do this, that, and the other. But at what cost?
Well, you talk about education. So the whole AI concept is now it's on such a tangential curve that I mean I can tell you now in 4 years' time we're going to have the first commercial fusion generator, which is going to power an entire city in a box, right? And they're going to start rolling out. Um, Microsoft has already been able to produce teach their AI the underlying laws of nature, so they can create synthetic materials that have never been created before. This is already happening now. The structures are already there.
Mhm.
We've just seen Google DeepMind synthesize, I think it's 200 million proteins in the human body, and one of them can take weeks or months to. The first one took, I think, years to synthesize. Even now, to do millions, they've been looking for ways of doing it. They've cracked that problem now. Basically, that means the proteins in the human body, and it actually can create proteins that haven't even been created yet, which means what would normally take conventional evolution or, depending on what you believe, adaptation, um, thousands or millions of years to create these proteins through painstaking trial and error, they're now going to be done in a matter of years. So you're going to be able to create proteins and adjust things in your body that are mind blowing. So from an education perspective, how does it affect the business world? A lot of the work and the jobs and the businesses that we have, and as young children, what they're going to be doing is going to be completely different because the whole education structure is going to be different. You can't sit in a classroom with 30 kids anymore. It's pointless. Everybody's going to be in different waves. They're going to be learning at their own
But
pace,
but but
Star Trek
Scott,
style.
I find that to be the disconnect because all of this is happening on over here. I don't think that the education system is catching up fast enough. So we're still educating a generation of kids that is not prepared for what's happening over here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not happening, but I don't think it's happening fast enough. So you've still got kids over here being educated in the old traditional way, and they're not really educated on what's happening over here. Because if they were um, educated about what's happening over here, I think there would be less acceptance about what they're now thinking is the
Yeah.
best way to exist. The best way to exist is in this virtual world and not in the human connection sort of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. More of a
And
statement than a question, and I agree. They're not
yeah,
prepared. It's
we
it's going to be difficult, but you as parents, you've got to try and spend time being human with your kids. Honestly, that's the best thing that you could possibly do with them.
exactly. And unfortunately, that's a conversation for another podcast, Scott,
Yeah.
where, parents are so, some of them, a large majority, in fact, are so removed from this communication um, with their kids. We don't have that type of environment anymore where we sit around the dinner table as a family and have a conversation. Uh, that's not happening to a large extent. So
Which
what?
has to
uh,
start doing it. Like get your kids to put their phone down and talk and have proper conversations. So let
yeah.
me one more thing I do want
Not just the kids, but the parents too. Everybody put your phones down and have
yeah.
a conversation.
So interestingly enough, though, what is going to start happening now, right, which is going to be very interesting, is that most business owners are struggling. The 9 out of 10, minimum 9 out of 10 are struggling. Okay. And they
Mhm.
feel unsafe in their financial lives and their businesses. Okay. And the 1 out of 10, it's actually less than 1 out of 10. But those people who are quite wealthy out there, right? At the moment, they're feeling safe. And they felt safe for a while because they think, well, I have money, so therefore I'm okay. I've got my house, I've got my extra couple of houses, I've got my investments, etc. The time is coming where they're not going to feel safe anymore.
Mhm.
And the people, the business owners who are used to feeling unsafe, are actually going to be in a weird kind of way the leaders, the elders of those people because these stuff is changing so quickly. And it's not going to be about how unsafe you feel. It's about how you manage your feeling and your expectation of what it means to be safe in your own business and in your own
Exactly.
family and everything. Because let me tell you, they're being shattered around us. Like we know that. We know I come from South Africa, an extraordinarily corrupt country, right? And Africa is extraordinarily corrupt. It has some extraordinarily beautiful components of it, which allows for a freedom, ironically, that other countries don't have. So there's going to be these interesting things. But one of the examples is that there's so much corruption out there. I mean, one thing AI can do is it can read an entire million flippin' page bank account statement and track everything and start identifying where corruption can start occurring within a certain infrastructure. So people who have been living off this kind of system, they're finding that their wool has been pulled under their eye, the rug
Mhm.
from pulled under them. Even people who have been doing the right thing and are good, solid, honest, good, hardworking people are finding now through the whole Elon Musk thing and this thing that they might lose their jobs like almost overnight. These are people that were safe. If you had a federal job, you were safe, right?
Mhm.
Suddenly, they're not feeling safe within a matter of weeks. they're not feeling safe anymore. So
Mhm.
the people, business owners, we got to start helping people come to these areas. Like we've got to create safe spaces for them through business networking groups where they can say, you don't have a job anymore, come to a business networking group, meet other people, meet real humans, and let's talk about these things and let's see if we can get a business going for you. And let's help educate you. In fact, now that you've made me think about it, the business networking groups need to become the educators. We need to become bastions of education in business,
Yeah,
not bastions of just networking.
exactly. And that's and make it happen.
Yeah.
Challenge to you, Scott. Make it happen.
Mm.
This is, this is where you need to be. And I was listening to a young man on Instagram. He was one of those people who had lost his job. And my comment was, have you ever thought of starting a business? Which is exactly what you just said. Okay,
Yeah.
now you're in a position where you no longer have a job. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? And the chances of you finding a job anytime soon is
Very low. Yeah.
not very encouraging. So
Yes.
here, come to our or this space over here where we're going to educate you, talk
Yeah.
about preparing people to live in the current world. So, challenge to you,
Business
Scott.
world.
That's something your
Yeah.
platform can do. So
Well,
I'm gonna close out by giving you the floor to tell my audience why MMT, uh, where is your platform poised to go in the future? And as you just mentioned, startups, people who are out there flailing and don't know what to do, how do they find you? How do they connect with you?
thank you, Salami. Just one thing, I'm just going to ask your audience. If you don't know what universal basic income is yet, and it's a new term to you, I highly recommend you start learning about it because it is going to be coming soon. So just keep an eye on that because that's going to be a very interesting, something very interesting. So my most trusted is designed to bring the human element into networking and helps people meet each other in a human, authentic way. It's a mobile app and it is a Chrome extension and it connects different networking groups together. So we support business networking groups. They roll it out to their members. And what ends up happening is we can help match you with the right people. Remember right at the beginning of this, I said that the people that you know and trust around you won't let you starve. It's the people they know that make you rich. We help you connect to the people they know by getting your trusted connections into your own area. So you've got to look after and manage the people you know and trust in one central location. And that's what my most trusted is. It helps you build your own private trusted network, and then you can see into their networks, and AI will start matching you because one meeting can change your life. One business meeting can change your life forever. The right meeting, you get in front of the right person and it can change you. And that is what it does. So it's a technology platform, but it works with individuals and business clubs so that you can get in front of the right person quicker and more effectively without losing any of the humanness.
Awesome. And how does a business owner, anyone listening to you who's thinking about going into business, how do they connect with you? How do they become a part of MMT?
Well, there's two ways of doing it. First of all, they should connect with you, Salome, because the best way to connect to My Most Trusted is through an individual that's already working with it. So
Working
they should absolutely connect with you. So if you want to get involved with My Most Trusted, get involved with you, Salome, and then you can connect them by simply adding them as a connection of yours, a trusted connection.
exactly.
But to answer your question more directly, our website is mymosttrusted.net.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, this conversation could go on and on. And I'd like to, after you've had some time to think about integrating that education component, maybe it's going to be a separate app or a separate platform altogether where you can tap into because unfortunately, Scott, this is a trend that's going to continue. people are going to continue to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not, are, we don't want an even bigger mental, uh, crisis on our hands. So there's got to be a safe place for these people to land. And maybe that's something you can work on, or, something you can explore. Let's put it that way. So thank you again for being here, Scott. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for the investment of time. To my audience, thank you for being here. I am really excited to hear your comments on this particular episode. What did you think about the whole avatar versus human, or hybrid versus human conversation? Love, as I said, to hear your comments. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I will see you on the next. Thank you for joining us.